Today being the 21st January brings with it all those different changes with regards to spouse open work permits. Well, we obviously by now knew that spouse open work permit eligibility is changing, whereby the principal foreign national in Canada, based on which you can apply for a spouse open work permit, their occupation requirements are changing. So now, as of today, the person who is in Canada, the principal foreign national, should have their work permit valid for at least 16 months in order for their spouses to be able to apply for open work permits. But more than that, they should also have current valid work experience. They should be currently working in a TEER category which is eligible. So off the bat, the TEER categories that are eligible are 0 and 1. So all occupations under TEER 0, 1 and 1 are eligible. But also there are specific occupations that have been listed by IRCC under TEER categories 2 and TEER categories 3. Now, if you see TEER category 2, there are largely trade occupations in there, but they have included some IT occupations, they have included some civil engineers, they have included some draftsmen and several other occupations. Tier 3 list though is much more smaller and has specific occupations again related to either healthcare or trades or otherwise. Overall, this brings to effect a big change that we have been talking about for the last several weeks and months, that now only specific occupations, people who are working under specific occupations, only they would be eligible for the spouse's open work permit. The overall impact of all this as we move forward is going to be significant. You could see nearly 100,000 workers less in the labor market because of this impact. So what do you do if you are caught in this situation and you are no longer eligible? Well, unfortunately, you don't have too many options. Of course, if you are the spouse who is on a spouse open work permit and your principal foreign national spouse is no longer eligible, well, first thing is what they can do is they can obviously look for an eligible occupation and gain work experience in that. And with that, you will be able to apply for an open work permit. Number 2 would be you change your status to a visitor if you want to continue living in Canada along with your spouse to accompany them. And number 3, which I'm sure most of you would not want to hear, would be to return back to your home country. These would be the options. There is also a lot of confusion with regards to the meaning of extension of your work permit. So the extension here basically means that you are currently on a work permit where your validity of the work permit, you being the spouse who has a spouse open work permit, the validity of your work permit is shorter than your spouse's, who's the foreign national, principal foreign national. In this case, in order to gain a longer validity equal to your spouse's work permit's validity, you can apply for an extension. Even now, under the same conditions, there is no problem. But if you were earlier on a spouse open work permit, on the basis that your spouse was an international student, and now you will be applying for a spouse open work permit on the basis that your spouse is now going to apply for a postgraduate work permit. This is not extension. This is referred to as a new spouse open work permit application because the circumstances have changed. Earlier, you had a work permit basis of a study permit. Now you will be getting a work permit on the basis of a work permit. So this is where the change of circumstances happen, and therefore it's not an extension application. This would be a new application, and all these changes would also apply to you. So for international students, also IRCC has updated its website. It is telling you who would be eligible to apply for a spouse open work permit if you're an international student. Of course, we already know by now that if you're an international student who's studying a professional bachelor's degree or undergrad program, or if you are studying master's degree of at least 16 months in duration, or if you are a PhD student, then you are eligible to bring in your spouses on an open work permit in Canada. The extension aspect of the spouse open work permit, if you're an international student in Canada, now that has changed a bit. So of course, as long as you're an international student, as long as your study permit is valid, you can apply for your spouse's open work permit if you're obviously studying under the programs that I mentioned earlier. And if for whatever reason your spouse has a shorter duration of a work permit, let's say their passports was expiring, okay, then in that case they can apply for an extension based on your study permit in Canada. However, if this is your last semester that you are studying, then your spouse is no longer eligible for the extension. This is a new update, new change that has been made. Whenever you do submit an extension application, whenever you do submit an application for your spouse's open work permit on the basis of your study permit, you always have to be able to demonstrate that you are a student in a good standing. So you can obtain that good standing letter from your university or college. You can ask them to issue you this document so you can show IRCC that you are a person who's studying currently in Canada in good standing. You should always add your acceptance letter, your fee receipt, your grades, your transcripts if you have them for your most recent examination. Provide all of this documentation as part of your application to show that you are currently studying. Of course, your study permit goes in there as well. So overall, these are the changes. Obviously, head over to the IRCC website. The link is in the description box so you have a better insight to what all the changes have been made, and specifically what are the occupations that are now being included for tier categories 2 and 3. So those individuals who are working in Canada under tier 2 and 3 would now be eligible to apply for open work permit if and only if they have work experience or they are currently working in those eligible NOC codes. And bear in mind, this applies to the workers who have an LMIA or a closed work permit, and also workers who are on an open work permit. This is across the board. I hope this video would have helped you clarify some of your doubts. Do share, like, and subscribe. I will bring you more of such videos again.